always some issues. Oh, come on. Alright, let's see. I want to make sure. Fantastic. Hi everyone, Marvell here. I'm back again with this live. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. It's another conversation we're about to have. So if you're around, make yourself announce. Peace, my brother. Uh, Fitawari Fitness. I really appreciate you being here. And please, guys, make sure you hit the like button and when you join the chat, because today we're going to talk about more important stuff than we realize. And these conversations, like I said, must be had. I'm trying to make a commitment where I'll be going live, at least using the basic tools that I have, since reaching 1,000 subscribers has unlocked certain features that I didn't really have access to. So I'm going to be using it to kind of go lives and explore and have more conversations as I always wanted to do. While I try to figure out other means to make this live stream more professional, where I will probably get a monthly membership to one of this online streaming platform to have a much better experience where I can share my screens, and maybe have people on board and have a conversation and go live and bring people on board and have conversation to hear from other people's opinions as well. But until that happens, I'll be going lives and discuss these issues and stuff like that. But without further ado, let's go straight to today's video. So literally what I'm about to talk about is basically the myths that we've been told about the West. So growing up in the Congo as a kid, I'm pretty sure we've all had this kind of idea about the West being so precious that we were willing to sell or even sacrifice everything we've ever owned to just come to the West, because as a child watching all these Hollywood movies, so it got us into thinking that that's the image of the United States that they had actually put inside our minds. So me moving from Africa to America, me personally, I was thinking like everywhere will look like Los Angeles, right? And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I'll have the same lifestyle as these guys that I watch on television, where I live in this, fourth or fifth building somewhere in the middle of Manhattan, with a beautiful 360 view, the pool inside the house, and so forth. When you move here, you realize it's just entertainment, it's just movie. And the reality, it's not really the same. When you come here, you gotta get a job, and most of the time, especially us coming from non-English speaking countries, we have to go back to ESL classes. You have to learn how to speak the language. It's a really long process to integrate the society and actually become a part of the social structure, and also move your way up, whether you want to go back to school and all of that. But they don't tell you any of that, so they just feed your mind with all of this distortion, leading you to believe that you can sell everything you've ever owned because your life will be much better when you move to the West. But I'll tell you how many of us here in the West live from like paycheck to paycheck every single day. Like, you talk to somebody from Congo who's been here a while, you give them a choice, they'll tell you like literally they do not want to stay here in America. Most people that I ever talk to, everybody wants to go back to the country. Why is that? Because the way the system here in the West is set up, it was never established for people like me and you. That's why I always tell people, never get comfortable when you come to the West. Because if you get too comfortable, all you're gonna end up doing, maybe after you realize this is probably not gonna be too late, but you realize that you've already wasted a lot of time. That's why it's very important for people like us who kind of starting to understand the system a little bit. We can use this knowledge to educate some others, so that they know exactly what to do, so that people won't make stupid mistakes that some of us have made when we first arrived here. You know what I'm saying? I'm not against an idea of moving to the West, but I will lay it all out to you so you can know the reality ahead of time before even moving here. So when you come over here, you make the the wise decision you could possibly make so that you return back home as quickly as possible and start your investments. All right. So I'm going to start with basic things that most of us usually run away from our own country to come to the West for. One of the things that I hear, especially people from my generation, is that um, I don't even know when I'm going to be able to purchase my own vehicle living here in the Congo, because they barely pay me enough money to um, to actually make it possible for me to pay my bills and still have, my savings on the side and so forth. Or, how long is it going to take me to buy a house? I don't want to work the rest of my life waiting for my pension in order for me to have a place to stay. But one thing we don't realize is that it's the same thing here in the West. No matter how many job opportunities they may have here, most people, the things that they allegedly own, they basically don't own them. The things that most of you don't know is that people buy houses on credits here. People are on mortgage for like 30 years, 30 plus years. People drive the cars that they bought on credits. Anybody can purchase a vehicle here in America. You can wake up one morning, go to a dealership, even with a low, credit score, you will have a car. Especially people that have low credit score are the ones that are more likely to qualify. Why? Because you will pay high interest rates. They love people like that. But if you already have high credit score, you'll still get your car, but they'll look at you like, man, this guy is really not going to pay that man that much interest rates. But anyway, you're going to end up having it already. And I'm going to give you something to think about. A lot of people complain, and I have this conversation with a lot of friends of mine around here, and they say, oh, I bought my first vehicle when I was 20 or 21 only because I was here in America. Okay, fair enough. But you did not buy it straight up. You went and actually asked the bank to pay for it, and then you have to pay the bank for 5 or 8 or 5 or 6 years, depending how much the car costs. So you want to tell me, and this is the only difference between living in the West and some of our African countries, is the credit system. If in Africa we had banks or like financial institutions as they do in these countries, all of that wouldn't even matter. And those are one of the things that make the huge difference between living here in the West and in Africa, because of those credits. We really do not have those credit systems yet, but that's one of the things that make the biggest difference. Check this out. Somebody in America who just bought their house, okay? They bought a house, the key gets handed to them. All right, fair enough. But they give you 30 years to pay the house off. They already calculated your income. They know how much money you make. They know possibly this is, about how much you can afford. You paid that house for 30 years. Let's just say that you bought a house when you were 30 and you will pay it off when you turn 60, right? At age 60, almost retirement age, right? You're already retiring. You probably don't have that strength in you anymore to work for anybody anymore, right? How is it different from someone who's worked their whole career in the Congo because they did not have access to the credit system, but they rented their entire life, but they, at the end, when they received their pension, they bought a house? To me, it's exactly the same thing. But other people will tell you otherwise. If in Congo we had those credit system where you can go to a bank, the bank buys you a house and say, hey, you have 10 or 15 years to pay me back with a couple, with some interest. People will do that, right? People will be able to purchase homes. But you will notice that a lot of people in the Congo, they're only able to buy a home at the end of their career. So is more people here in America. Just because you live in a house that you're paying mortgage for doesn't mean it belongs to you. We all know how Uncle Sam is with their taxes, with their money. If you can't keep up anymore with that, guess what's going to happen to your house? It gets taken away. These are one of the things that a lot of people don't take into account when they're talking about various opportunities. So me, I always encourage people to go back home to invest into a variety of sectors. I'm more interested in farming, in agriculture, generally speaking. Some other people may have different tastes. They may have different, view in terms of business. My thing is go back home to invest. Do not let anybody stop you. But one thing we don't realize, let me just focus on agriculture first. We have about 80 million arable lands available in our country, but we are running away from that. We're barely purchasing lands, but then we want to blame Chinese or Lebanese when they come to the country, purchase the land and start whatever activity they got going on, or they start a farm or whatever the case may be. But we are there, we will rather leave that behind and let somebody else do it for us. But then we turn around, we want to complain about it. Nobody stopped us from purchasing lands in our own country. Nobody literally stopped us from doing anything to invest in our own country. All the blame literally has to come back to ourselves because we are the number one responsibles for all of these things. We are literally running away from opportunities to come to scraps because here everything is very much calculated. If you move into a state that's up north, your income will probably be somewhere in the medium, like you making reasonable amount of money. But then you look at the housing markets, renting prices, groceries around you, it goes by how much money you make. You move down south, they'll tell you houses cost much less, but then also they don't really pay you that much money down the south either. It goes the same if you move to like area like in West Coast California, all these big cities up there, the wage is much higher, so is the price of homes. So literally there isn't really nowhere to run away from. I mean, it's almost like you running into the ocean from the rain. I mean, it's raining, in normal life, but then you want to go hide under the river. So it's basically the same thing. But what I'm trying to tell everybody here on this chat is that we have to acknowledge the potentials that our country have. Before we decide that we want to move to the West for opportunities, let's evaluate the level of opportunities that we already have in our nations, right? And if you outweigh those opportunities, and the ones coming from the West is much better, well, I am not going to stop you. You go right ahead. You know what I'm saying? You go right ahead and live your life, and you can portray it as, the way you see fit. But from my own personal opinion, it took me a little while to figure some of these things out. And when I have these talks with my friends here around my community, I ask them the same questions, and I've never had anybody that gave me an answer that I've been looking for, which still leads me to believe that we are literally living precious things back home to come to, excuse the term, poop. Basically, the way we get treated here, if you're someone that look like me and you have some business idea, you want to open up a business, the process is going to be much harder than somebody that don't not look like me and you. But where we come from, nobody don't really care. As long as you bring the money, you allowed to do whatever the hell you want to do with your own money. Nobody can stop you. And this is the part where I kind of go hard on the Congolese diaspora, because we are the ones who have the economic power to make things happen back in the country. But somehow we choose not to do that because we get so comfortable here Why would you want to spend money buying expensive homes and expensive cars here? There is nothing wrong with it. If you're doing great in life, I'm happy for you, man. Go for it. But I'm saying you should not be spending that much money here, but you don't really have anything significant back in your country where you came from. We have to get into the mindset to start building our own community, to start building our own country with whatever we have available to us. Because I do understand some of us here have education, some of us here went to college here, they have skills, but then when they look around, some of us, even want to go back to the country. You see what I'm saying? You want to go back to the country, contribute, work for the government or whatever the case may be, but they feel like they will not be paid enough money to convince them to make the big move. Some of them, already have a family established here. They already have business going on. They have a lot of things going on at the same time. I get that. But one thing that I try to bring people, back to reconsider their decision is that I always say this whole thing, it's all about mathematics. If you do your math properly, we all went to school. We kind of know a little bit of the mathematics in us. You will see what you consider good money here in America, with the American dollar value here in the States, it's really not going to get you anything gigantic either. But that salary may mean a lot more back in the country. Quick example, you make $4,000 a month, right? But then your mortgage is $1,500. You drive a nice car because you want to look all cool and everything. There is nothing wrong with that. Your car payment monthly is probably $500 plus, insurance plus insurance costs. You end up spending about like $650. That's over $2,000 already. You live in a house, you got to pay bills, right? You got utility bills that can go up to probably $150 monthly. You have cable bills, you have all these other bills, internet, many other things. But then overall expenses, it adds up to close to $3,000 a month. Okay, but then you got credit card bills, because some of us, we need to live in a certain standards that of things that we can't even afford, but because there are so many credit card companies out there looking for people to gang up on, you have credit card bills too that probably get you around $400 to $500 a month. So you're looking at close to $3,500 monthly out of the $4,000 you make a month. So you got family back in the country. You may have a nephew, a brother or a sister who's going through some medical breakdown and stuff like that. They don't have anybody to look up to, and then they'll call you on the phone. You send $200 or $300 to help them out because they're your family member. You can't really let them go through the suffering like that, right? You got to intervene. Then you are left with $200 only. What the hell are you going to do with $200 here in America? And a lot of people do not really want to take a step back and reconsider their spending to do something better and live just a normal life without needing all this extravagant lifestyle. You'll be just fine. But most of us, we tend to have more expenses as we make more money. Whereas $4,000 as a monthly payment, as a monthly salary back home, it's a huge deal. But people will rather live under such conditions here in America because they feel like the number is higher, but in reality isn't really doing anything for them. And check this out, somebody in the Congo who makes $1,000 a month, that's a good salary right there. I mean, you may choose to live in a home where, in an apartment where you pay $150. That depends on the area, again, because there's also much more expensive areas to live in the Congo. But if you just want to keep your life simple, I really don't see how you can fail, or I don't really see anything going wrong with that. It's all about the calculations. If you do your math right, I'm pretty sure you will be just fine in handling things like this. Therefore, I'm encouraging every single one of us, please, those of us that are here in the diaspora, who have jobs, who make good money, You don't have to go all the way in. It's the time to start thinking about something. It's the time to start coming up with some business ideas. So you have something to fall back to when all hell breaks loose. You know what I'm saying? And I always tell people, because people oftentimes love to make excuses. Oh, I do not make enough money. I can afford to invest back in the country. You know, the plot of lands costs this much money. Oh, I can afford it. People are always champions when it comes down to making excuses. But I'll tell you what, making excuses, it's never going to help us get anything done. But we will rather let, the word, actions speak louder than words. What I'm doing is, I have a job, right? I have a full-time job. I would consider my career as a deputy sheriff being, oh, I don't make crazy money, but I'm okay with what I make. I'm comfortable with that. But since I got bigger plans than my, what my salary that I get every 2 weeks, I needed a second job. It don't matter what I do, but I needed a second job to be able to support all the projects that I got going on back in the country. Because if I have to depend on one income, that ain't never gonna be enough to actually give me enough money to finance the things that I want to establish back in the country. Sometimes we have to sacrifice ourselves in order for us to have the means to go back home and live the kind of lifestyle we want to live. And I always say to people, look, I would rather be broke here in America, but I have much greater things going on in the country, because that's where I would love to be. You know what I'm saying? And you'll be surprised. Some of you may probably haven't been back home since you moved to the diaspora, right? But whenever is your next time you're planning a trip back in the country, you fly over there, you spend a couple, a week or two, whatever. You come back down here, hit me up on my channel, let me know how you feel. You know what I'm saying? It feels great. It feels fantastic. That's where we will all need to be. Because if you stay here, you live your life. But at the end of the day, with the property taxes, if you own a home, with, all of these other bills you got to pay, everything adds up. I can't get this around my head where I own a home, even if it's all paid off, right? But then I still got to pay property taxes on it. What happens if I can't afford this property taxes payment anymore? Well, you know what Uncle Sam would do? They'll take the house away from you. They sell it, take the money that you owe them, and give you the difference. You want to tell me that's owning a house? But you barely deal with property taxes back home. We don't go through any of that, do we? The choice is much clear. You can live here at your own comfort for as long as you possibly want to live. But one thing that I'll tell you though is, consider the move back to the country. Consider doing something to motivate you to continue to go there back and forth. Because look at what these people here in this world do. They try to establish their hegemony around the world. They want to be everywhere. They want to be able to control the whole part of the world, which seems a little bit difficult to do. But us as people, just normal people, if you feel like your income is not enough and you're still young, this is the time for you to get a second job and use that extra income to start building something. If I'm doing it, I'm pretty sure some of you can do it too. I'm against the idea of working 2 or 3 jobs, because I believe one salary should be enough to help you get by. But sometimes when you start having projects, because the projects that I got going on in my head right now is way bigger than sometimes just sitting there waiting for my paycheck every 2 weeks, it just drives me nuts. And I'm looking at the paycheck, I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this money? But if you give that money to an average person who does not have any business idea to invest back home whatsoever, they might be happy with the salary, right? But someone like me, who's already thinking bigger, who wants to build businesses back in the country, I'm looking at it at a different angle. Look, I have to bust my butt. I have to get up every day early in the morning. If I have to work 7, Monday through Sunday, I have to do it. It is what it is. As long as I have a time frame set. I'll be like, okay, for the next 5 years, this is how much I want to make. This is how much money my goal it is to reach this amount of money to do this. Or maybe my goal is to keep spending along the way. The extra income is going to go to build something greater. If I can do it, I'm pretty sure some of you can do it too. Because I was trying to find a way around it. The only way that worked for me better was by getting the second job. So I got a second hustle where I make, I get paid every 2 weeks too, and that money is going back to my investment. I even got videos where the constructions that are taking place, I will also edit those videos and publish that so you guys can see, because I would like to share my experience to you guys so that those experience can also can serve as a tool to actually motivate some of you to go back, because some people may get cold feet when they don't see you doing anything significant. Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Congolese out there that are doing better things, but they just do not want to be on a YouTube space to share the experiences. Not everybody's built like that. So I chose this path because I wanted to inspire some other people, because I believe in the Congolese diaspora being like the economic power of that country, because we actually already play that role, but we just do not know it. The money that we send through Western Union, or MoneyGram, whatever way we support our family, whatever way we support whomever that you care about back in the country, the money that you send, it's actually powerful, because those funds, it actually help out a lot, and it contributes to the Congolese economy. There's one thing that we don't understand. Some of us don't even realize that. I'll tell you one thing though. There was one, I think this was either last year or the year before. Usually on my Western Union, I don't know if this happens to you guys also, but at the end of the year, they will send me a report of how much money I've sent so far throughout that year, right? There was this one year, no, this was 2020, they sent me a report, and then the money that I sent back home that year was almost $9,000. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, where the hell did I get the $9,000 that I sent back home? Keep in mind, this money wasn't sent to build anything, to do anything. It's just somebody asked you for help. Somebody said this. Some family member, needs some medical assistance. Some family member needs something done. They need some help here and there. You send $100, $300, $500, $400, depending on how much you're willing to help. And all of that adds up. When I got that report, I looked at it. I was like, crap. I spend this much money. That kind of opened my eyes. I said, well, I make more money than I realize. So I could have used this extra $9,000 that into something better, and it could have probably brought out some results. Ever since, I was like, you know what, from now on, moving forward, I'm not going to mess around anymore. I am going to stay focused, and I have to watch my spending. I have to watch who I send money to, because I really want to make sure the money goes into a good cause. And that cause is to build businesses. That cause is to build my farm, have as many animals in there as possible, because now I got pig farming going on. I got piglets, I got pregnant female pigs and stuff like that. I'm pretty excited about it. Can't wait to show you guys these videos coming up pretty soon. Just stay tuned for those. And on the top of that, I got goats, but since I do not have space for them, I will have to keep them where they are right now, while I build another barn. Right after I'm done with the pig barn, I am going to jump right into building like the chicken barn, because I'll also get into poultry farming. I talked about it in the past. I'm actually already considering the rabbit farming as well, because rabbit farming, apparently it's also lucrative business, and I'm not gonna just let that slide. And there's a lot of things on my bucket list that I would love to do. It's only a matter of time, since I already made the decision, and I'm already motivated, and I'm in the middle of this construction, and I know how much money that goes into building. So I don't really give a crap anymore. All the money that I'm making from my side hustle is gonna go straight there to build and do all of this. So my last message to you guys, it is, this. All right, I'm gonna leave you with this one. Listen, this is gonna be my saying from now on. All right, that I would rather be broke here in America, but have better things going on in the country. I would rather economically be broke here in America, even though I work here, but that money sure as hell gotta go to do something in Africa. Because if it doesn't come from me, it ain't gonna come from anywhere else. The only money that Uncle Sam gets to get out of my pockets is my rent, is the car payment. I'm almost done with the car payment, thank God. And car insurance, my utility bills, and all other bills that I got going on. Once all those bills are paid, whatever dime left into my bank account, it will not sit in there for a period of more than 2 or 3 days. It's getting out of the bank, put through Western Union, back to the country. While I am getting ready, because I got a lot of things in my own personal life going on here, that when I get that all straightened out, then I'm gonna fly back to the country. If you've watched my videos, guys, you know how I encourage people to go back home to physically to get things done, because there are a lot of realities as far as sending back, money back to the country. As long as you have good collaborators, you're at good hands, so those that can serve you also as well. But I always encourage people to actually be there themselves rather than trusting people to do things for them. So like, I got pretty lucky that I have a team that actually do exactly what I asked them to do. I'm pretty lucky to have a team who actually look out for me the way I do. Everything they do, every expenses that they, every money that they spend, they show me the receipt, they send me videos, and all of that is documented. But there are certain ways, though, there are certain things you just feel that you needed to be there to get it done on your own, because people sometimes they just don't understand your idea, your vision. And those are the things that when I sit with them and I have a conversation with them, I let them know sometimes, like, people are not as dependable as I would love them to be. But that's also understandable, because we do things in a much more different way than it is done here in the West. So you have to have that level of patience when you're dealing with people back in the country. We all know, like, especially when you're building or you have something going on, usually when it rains, especially during the rainy season, like, basically the entire day it's called off. Like, no activity will take place anymore. Like, basically it's a dead day. You know what I'm saying? So you just have to be more flexible with all of that. All right, guys, so thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate you all. I appreciate you tuning in. And if you like the video, please make sure you give the video a thumbs up to help with the YouTube algorithm. Also share the lives with other people. For those of you that have not gotten a chance to connect, please watch the replay whenever you get a chance, because these are great information and these are the kind of grown-up conversations that our community should be having all the time and help each other out. And I would love to hear from you guys, and let me know in the comment section what you think, what you thought about this live, and also let me know your opinions down in the comment section down below. We're trying to grow this community to where we'll have a platform where we can, bring each other's idea, to share each other's idea and actually help each other out with more, business idea, so we can make our beautiful Democratic Republic of Congo a better place. God bless Democratic Republic of Congo. Thank you guys for tuning in. Until the next one, I'll see you guys later. Peace.